Good morning, everyone. Morning, afternoon, depending on how you look at it. We're going to talk about leveraging the iPads in the air with Mosyle. I will tell you up front, the title is a little bit off. In January, when I submitted this, I was in one place, and you're going to see that this kind of evolved into something much different over time. I have put all the things you're going to see, everything that matters is in my GitHub. If you go to Slack, I also put the links in there. And the notes for this session, it's in there too. So before we really get into this, how many Mosyle customers in the room? Looking to convert anybody? No? So we're public education, where I'm at. It's a little bit about me. I've been involved with computers probably longer than I should admit to. Done a couple of these. Yeah. This doesn't prove I have any idea what I'm talking about, by the way. It just proves they'll shove me up here. So, I come from Gateway School District. We're just outside of Pittsburgh. We maintain, give or take, about 3,400 iPads between storage and everything else. This year, we're retiring all of our 7th grade iPads, so you'll get to see how we do that a little bit. Just wanted to give a shout out to our help desk. These tools exist because the kids need them, and they inspire me kind of to write them. Not everybody's here, but this is the last time we just visited AGI for our help desk group, and that's not good, is it? Hold on. Yes? There we go. Had me worried. I was in Dean's Hall 1 the other day, and the power just went out completely. At Gateway, we do a lot of our own software. It's not necessarily that there's not good software out there. It's just a matter of the time it takes to budget and make somebody convinced that they honestly should pay for this. Sometimes it's easier to write yourself. Some of our older tools, this goes back to when we were still Jamf customers. This was put together just because our secretaries needed a way to quickly find lost iPads. When we initially went one-to-one, they didn't want to learn Jamf. They didn't want to log into anything. So we wrote this. This just ran out of the DocuWiki. It was simple PHP pointing to a script. It worked. Well, as long as it had to. Speaking of other tools, this is the student portal. My director, Mike O'Brown, wrote this. This allows our help desk kids to go in and do tickets outside of Incident IQ. For Incident IQ, you would have a lot more rights. You can see a lot of things probably the kids shouldn't. So to get the kids started in our program, he wrote this. And it's pretty much as simple, make a ticket, put some notes in, they can issue loaners if they need to. This is one of mine. I've been working on this now for about 2 years. Originally, this was all command line, and there was a script that went with it. It was called Shake and Bake, that you'd plug the iPad physically in, and it would wipe, it would do things. Unfortunately, when I presented this 2 years ago, over the air came out, return to service. So after presenting this, I kind of felt like I gave you guys old information. Real quick thing about Mos Basic, because it's a big part of what we're going to talk about. This is just a command line tool. It basically allows you to do common iPad tasks, MacBook tasks from the command line. So if you have an API key, and you do have to be a paid customer to have an API key, with the API key, you can utilize this to see, everything is assigned to somebody, for instance. Like I would type Mos Basic space info in somebody's name, and it'll tell me every device that they've been assigned. Granted, I'm really comfortable with the command line. Not everybody is. This is another one we got going on. This was actually wrote by a student. Student named Mason up at the high school. We deployed batteries this year for loaners. At the middle school, kids constantly bring their iPads dead. So, to combat that, you can come to the library anytime and borrow a battery from us. He wrote this to track those batteries. You can see, if we would go into the system, you can see who's borrowed the most, trends, how many times a battery has been out, so we kind of know, what his life could be, that sort of stuff. We had no tool for this at all, and I had no plans on writing one. But Mason took it on. It works pretty good. All right, so let's talk about Mosyle. Before we get into the tools, this is a little bit about how we deploy our devices. So as you know, we're Mosyle. Most of what you're going to see is pretty universal. MDM, for the most part, is all the same. I mean, they all have to work in the same frameworks. The only thing that really makes them different is what they do with that data. Unfortunately, with Mosyle, the API is not as good as, say, some other companies. There's not enough features. But maybe once you guys see this, maybe you'll help me start asking for those features. That'd be helpful. Again, with the iPads, all the roads lead to Limbo. We send our iPads to Limbo right off the bat. If an iPad is returned, that's where it goes. In Mosyle, Limbo is pretty much just an unassigned state. It's waiting to be handed out. So at this point, I mean, we have all the apps coming down. We have any certificates that need to be in place to support SCEP and whatnot. This also allows us to avoid dragging the Wi-Fi for apps. The base app list in Gateway is about 15 different apps. And unfortunately, all the Google apps and the Microsoft apps, for some reason, they think the iPad is bigger than it really is. So they average 500 to 600 apiece. When we do about 650 iPads a summer, that can really make the network hurt. So this lets us do it beforehand. These are our carts. Once we set them up in Limbo, this is where they go until they're handed out. Just wanted to mention about return to service mode. Is everybody using return to service mode currently in your deployments? No? All right, so basically what this is you're just telling the iPad to restart and wipe, and here's a Wi-Fi profile, and get right back on the network. This has been really good for us for our loaners. But one of those, with using this service, we also needed a way to manipulate it at the machine level, at the iPad level. So last year in March, we deployed these two. One is for assignment and one is for wiping. These are actually run on my web server, and they're called by both Incident IQ directly as a webhook, and you can run it on the device itself. The first one we'll talk about is about wiping the device. So this is actually running, we're calling a webhook and giving a serial number, and the webhook in turn is just calling Mos Basic on the back end and telling it to wipe that iPad. When the iPad comes back up, it's going to grab its profiles, start pulling those apps, and pretty much be ready to hand out. Here's the thing about pushing out web links in Mosyle, though. Web links don't support variables. So to do this, you actually have to open up a different tool, like iMazing Profile Editor. Anybody use that one? Apple Configurator has a profile tool in it too. They're all capable of helping. To get around this, we will actually go in and do a custom profile. And so as a custom profile, I can go and create the profile outside. I can put my variables in that profile. And then when I upload it, I can say this profile has variables and I want to fill them. So in this term, we actually would fill in the serial number and hand that over to Mosyle to take action. The other one, the assignment worm, it works pretty much the same way. The only difference is it actually has Incident IQ calls to find out who the iPad's assigned to ahead of time. So, with all that out of the way, now I'm going to tell you about how we created the tool you're about to see. We're using ChatGPT to code. Let's see. So as far as like, why would we do this? Again, I was talking about being involved in computers longer than I want to admit. Commodore 64 days. Long before the internet, you used to get these books out of the library, and then you would type those programs, only to find out you didn't have a disk drive when the power went out, everything went away. That's how I learned, is typing those programs, and you start changing a line here and there and just see what it does. That's really what got me into this. But in this case, like, I kind of would use this tool the same way. Instead of reading the book, ChatGPT kind of helps me out with that. We also have other people in the department who have knowledge, but most likely they have their own problems too. Whereas ChatGPT just sits there and waits for somebody to call it. Some of the tools we use for this, obviously a web browser. I'm a TextMate person. I use GitHub because I like to show the Gits back and forth, and I got a screenshot of that in a minute. I didn't know that ChatGPT had a Mac desktop client. This kind of tells you how far I get my head up my own butt sometimes about doing these things. Like once I have my tools, like I'm ready to go. I just learned about this one, so I just started playing with it. I also use ServeBay, so when I create my code, I can run it locally on my Mac and see if it's actually working. Oh, the last part is patience. This takes forever sometimes. So here's kind of a comparison. The color's a little washed out, but like you can see here, like it's green versus the red. That's basically just showing it on the left. That's what came out, and on the green, that's what went in. Some of the pitfalls of this, it does seem like there's limited long-term memory in a session. A lot of times, even though I've told it to remember something, it doesn't. So like, I'll say, don't, give me full code always. Always export full code, I'll figure it out. Within an hour, it's gonna forget me telling it that. It's gonna start telling me the way it wants to tell me again. We also can't just say, here's a folder, keep all of our stuff in there. That might be possible with the desktop app, I'm not sure. So, I tried explaining this best I could in code, it didn't work out. So I'm gonna try with a picture. And this explains how I do what we do. So before I go to do something new, I'll open up a text editor, I'll write a paragraph or two about what we wanna do. Explaining like the ins, the outs, why is it this way, what am I looking for? In this is basically, I just told it, I explained this logo. My family also owns a restaurant. We've had it for a long time. I created this back in 2001 with Windows Paint, before I got hip to Macs. Bad time in my life, I guess, maybe, I don't know. And so basically, this is how we're gonna go through this. I had told ChatGPT, we generated 9 different ones. And you're gonna see this is 9 different steps. So in the first one, it comes out, I was just like, just show me what you got. And the first one, I kind of feel like, he looks like Lemongrab from Adventure Time. Any Adventure Time people here? Well, there you go. I think it looks that way. So again, like, you ask it again, all right, let's do it again. Make these little changes. On the third one, it doesn't look any better. But as you go through, you'll see like, I ask it different things. There comes to a point where you basically have to just say, like number 7 here, just give up. Let's start over again. Here's the sources. Here's what we talked about. Try it again. That's probably the hardest part of this is realizing when you're at that just try it again point. Like we're so down the wormhole that like just come back up here. In the end, after about 2 hours of explaining what I was looking for, this is what we got. It's still not where I wanted it, but it's close. The big part here is that good results take time. Some of these sessions can take very long to get what you want, but if it's when you get what you want, it's very rewarding. So I can also use ChatGPT for project planning. One of those things was this, like I have my own SSO for the project you're about to see. And I was curious, like, well, eventually we're gonna start using this with more people. Students may need to authenticate, general faculty authenticate. We're a class link district. So I just asked real quick, like, hey, here's my security checker that I use. How can I adapt this to take class link? And very quickly, it will come back and just give you like the high level. Okay, so understanding what's going on, here's what ClassLink will do, a couple little pieces. Option 1, continue using this as the gatekeeper, and it tells you what to put in there. Or option B, we can refactor with more layers. It also will give you a little idea about best practices. Now, that being said, don't take this for gospel. You definitely want to do your own research, kind of feel it out, play with it. make sure that what they're telling you is correct. But nonetheless, I mean, this is normally something that probably would have taken a day or two of research, a lot of messing around on our server. Some of our servers have older PHP than others for certain reasons. So like when you're writing your own code, that's a problem. All those things can be taken into consideration right here and figured out within a few minutes. Granted, it's not doing the job, but at least now I have a roadmap in my head of how likely it is that we can even do this. As I said, like we have a roadmap. I kind of know like how could and what if to an extent, at least like a higher level overview. We got those best practices. Again, double check all this stuff. Just because they think it is doesn't mean it is. But still, it's a good starter. Okay, so now that I've told you about the coding and all these other things, now we're going to get into why I'm really doing this session. The current tool that we're working with now is Mosyle. Mosyle was built basically to give the help desk kids a quick win. We constantly have kids coming and joining our program. It's very important that they get excited about what we do early. Nobody wants to hear like, okay, well, you need to hang out in the back for 2 weeks and read this and play with that and prove to me you can. So this tool basically allows them to jump right into the field and get into it. What is Mosyle? Well, Mosyle is a web page front for Mosyle. Mosyle is still the underpins of this whole situation, but this kind of puts a more graphical, easy base in front. Mosyle is not an MDM, not even trying to be. It's just an extension of Mosyle. Again, as my Apple guy tells me all the time, mileage may vary. For the most part, though, this should work in most installations. Mosyle is not me flexing PHP skills. I have none. I will say, though, that over the course of doing this, I've gained some. There have been a few occasions lately where I can kind of look through there and go, oh, I see where that's at or where it shouldn't be. We're getting there. This is Mosyle's landing page. Very simple, very straightforward. We've only actually been using this live with the kids since April. I've been using it for my own tasks about Christmas, give or take. This comes down to two parts. The first one is Device Manager. This is for acting on individual devices. Again, the common buttons, wiping the devices, loss mode, assigning, resetting the iPad, and looking it up again. I'm going to show you these live in a minute, or we're going to try. This is how we deal with loaner iPads now. It used to be that the shake and bake script had a whole back-end system of being physically plugged in and doing this for us. But now the secretaries can go to this web page. They can see who the iPad was assigned to, and they can choose to wipe it right there. They can put it in loss mode. A few other features. We have heavily logging for all this stuff, the logins as well as actions taken. I have Slack support half baked in, but there's more to come. This uses standard htaccess files out of the box for security. And we also have an on-demand problem button for reporting issues. That problem button, it's in the bottom left corner of all these pages. When you click it, it will ask you a question, and then it will send me an email like that, including a screenshot of what was on the screen. Yeah. Yeah, and then I would just get an email with the same stuff. And so you can see user feedback, what was typed. Down here, there's a screenshot of what was on the screen at the time. Please keep in mind, Mosyle is very beta. It does work. It has gremlins. That being said, we use it daily. So if there's a gremlin, I'm going to find it pretty quick. I wanted to show you about this logo. We were talking earlier about the revisions of asking ChatGPT to draw things, make things. Our logo is actually extrapolated from my dad. One of his big quotes, which I thought was fun, I don't remember telling it this, but it knew already Whoops, go back. Come on. There we go. Sorry, I clicked one time too many. There we go. Not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you what to do. My dad used to tell me that forever. I don't remember telling it this, but at some point it just created this rat-like guy and put it up there. All right, so we're going to talk about live demo here. Let me show you now what I've been telling you about. The big part about, I'm going to warn you, the Wi-Fi in here kind of creeps me out. 2 years ago, I had a really good explosion failure. If you ever wanted to look that one up. Yeah, I'm out again. Hello? Back. All right. Let's see. All right, so what this is doing, I just told it to go find me the Ramsey ones, and it loaded their data. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, I got a screen. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Move it over there. That'll work. A little better. Yeah, that'll work. So here's a full list of all the iPads that are in Ramsey's group. As you can see, they're all reporting that they're on campus. They better be. School's not in session. Right off the top, updates are always a big problem in our district. Most issues are related to not having space because you haven't installed the update, or just not being updated. We're sticklers about updates. I only allow people to be like 2 behind. If you're more than 2 behind, no Minecraft, no Safari for you. That being said, it just shows you right there, like 4 out of the 10 here, they need the 18.5 update. You'll see down here on the side, we can multi-check, we can do mass wipings from there. You can verify the assignment. That'll actually make it go back and check with Instant IQ and make sure that it should be assigned right now. The message user button doesn't actually do anything. I'm really hoping if I put it there and you guys see it, you'll be interested in it. Maybe someone will start asking Mosyle why we can't. I did put a feature request in for this and was told that pretty much more people have to ask. So you can send messages to the devices from the UI, so there's really no reason you can't with the API. It's just a matter of, well, how you do it. Any of these can be clicked, and they will take you right to our device management page. So this is look this up. Ignore this for now. If this was assigned, there'd be a username. Tells us kind of like where it is. Here, I only say on campus or off campus. Again, we're dealing with kids. I don't really want them to know like where so-and-so lives, more or less. You'll see over here, we have a debug button. This is all the data that came from Mos Basic. Right now, I kind of use this as a checking of my own code to see like, okay, well, this has been decoded to here. Is this correct? We can look up again, and all that's going to do is just refresh the device. Get my notes up here. All right. So, look at a couple more of these. 2, 9, 4, 6, 7. You notice these like device tags. I have about 30 or 40 tags in our Mosyle system now. They all mean things to me. They all go to groups. They all do things. But nobody wants to sit through an explanation of what all that means. So in Muskie, there's tags, and we decode the tags for the user. So in this case, this student has a flag that allows them to use their camera all the time. Elementary, we don't allow cameras enabled unless a teacher does it themselves. There are certain kids who are on the news who have to have the camera to make their content. So by giving the flag, this student keeps their camera. if there would be a question as to do they have it or don't they have it, very easily the kids can look it up here for them, our help desk kids, and show them like, yeah, you have it or no, you don't. Let's see. 29088. See, this guy here, he's out of the district for repair. Normally, we wouldn't be looking it up because it's not here. But there are occasions when somebody will call and go, hey, I can't find this iPad. This will help us kind of note where it is. This comes from Incident IQ. I have a script that runs every night to see who's out for repair and then add the tag to the serial. Let's see. YouTube blocked on device. That's another one of those tags. Everybody believes that they're supposed to have YouTube. Nobody wants to believe that their mom and dad may have said they shouldn't. So there it is, black and white. That also comes out of Incident IQ. This would be done if a parent requests their kid. Yeah. So a parent will put a tick in. There's also occasions like a principal will request on behalf of their teachers. And it will stay there until somebody calls. We've had kids get it in kindergarten, and now they're in the middle school, and they want to know why they can't do it. It's like, oh, because your mom called 6 years ago and said no. Let's see, 48. All right, so this is a device that's actually currently in lost mode. It's on campus, so luckily I'm not going to expose anybody's home. If we go over here, we say show location. That's going to actually go to Mosyle, do a quick check to see what the coordinates are of the iPad. And then we're going to turn around and go right to, okay, let me push this window over and show you. Where is that? There we go. Because I have Apple Maps installed, it launches on my machine. Come on, where's my mouse? I'm sorry, I didn't think this part out too well, I guess. There we go. So if I was doing this on an iPad or a non-Mac, this actually would have took me to a website, which is beta.maps.apple.com. Because I'm a Mac, it just goes ahead and opens up the Maps client and drops those pins right where the locational device data from Mosyle said it was. Mosyle has this in their own interface. It doesn't seem as detailed though. And plus with this, like I can easily then copy that link and send it to whoever we need to send it to. Let's see. This is an iPad that's considered stolen. And at that point, you can't do nothing. All buttons are blacked. Like it just, like you remember earlier we had like a sign, we had wipe, we all that stuff. All of it just would be gone. For some reason, we went back in iPad. Let me pull that one back up. 26715. Yeah. And I said, if we look at the debug info, you can see over here on the side, like all the tags. All this stuff is there. It's just on the left, we've kind of decoded it to make it more understandable. All right. Another feature of Device Manager is that it supports third-party modules. My thinking here being that I'm writing this for myself, I'm writing this for our help desk kids. I mean, if somebody makes a suggestion, we'll do it too, but maybe you have your own ideas. This makes it very easily that you can just drop it in a directory alongside my stuff, and it'll just show up as a device manager. You can run it. For instance, this is a third-party module that just tells you everything that comes out of the system. Everything that Muskie has looked up is available to third-party modules to utilize. So if you think about like how many systems do you have where the serial number is a reference to something, their username. Any of this information could be used against other systems to gain more insight. So for instance, this is a module that I had wrote. It's actually for retirement of devices. We let the students do this. We basically handed the students this page. I said, look every one of them up, click the retired link. They're going to confirm it. At this point, this is going to go out and talk to both Mosyle and Incident IQ and make some changes. It takes a couple seconds, there are a few queries in there. And like I said, I got the debug thing just in case something went wrong. Had something gone wrong, that window would have been red or orange. Just showing here, like it changed in Incident IQ, it's retired, it got moved to the high school, moved to the buyback location. And all that was done, it's listed just as an API request. If we were looking at the Mosyle side of things, you would see that the iPad had already been told to wipe without return to service so that it's ready to be handed out for our buyback. So speaking of these third-party modules, I got one more I want to show you. Let's see. Close that for now. Here's those modules I was talking about. All these guys are just visions of the last one. This is kind of like, if we would go through here and click, you'll see some features exist, some features don't. We're going to jump right to the last one. This is actually a query against API that Miko had wrote that allows me to ask the Radius database in AD about our users. And I don't understand a lot of this because we really just started writing this in the last couple of weeks. But I'm interested in what it tells me. Like you can go through here and it shows data usage, for instance. I've only ever seen green and yellow buttons, but when we actually get kids back, I bet there's other buttons we don't know about yet. I'll be curious to see what this looks like. If a teacher or a kid would say, hey, my iPad keeps falling off the internet, I'm curious to see what this will look like. Now, when Miko runs his query, or I run my query against Miko's database, this is what I get, all this JSON. So my module just turns around, takes that JSON, and makes it pretty. And that's pretty much all I told in the chat GPT was like, here's a giant chunk of JSON. This is kind of what it might look like. How can we show this so that it means something to somebody? A couple of tweaks. That's what all the different versions are for. And this is kind of where we're at right now. This is my boss's iPad. I know he never goes home, so I figured it was a good choice to try to use one of his devices. We also went through, if you look at my repo, there's scripts for dumping the MIST API. That's how I got all the names for our WAPs. So there's a table that kind of takes the MAC addresses that are reported by Miko and turns them into names. So this way our kids know exactly like, oh, well, this is the tech office. Device has got to be somewhere around there. We've experimented with letting the kids go into MIST and do some of this stuff on their own. For now, I think we're going to roll that back. No particular reason. Let's see. So like I said, with the third-party modules, you know, you can connect to any of these things. I've just tried, so far, Mosyle, MIST. I should have an Incident IQ one in there too. But, you know, I went to a session yesterday where they were talking about Apple Business Manager, about using Apple Business Manager API to get, you know, purchase dates, all the stuff that's in Apple Business Manager, more or less. You could very easily write a module here that would take that serial, go look it up, and tell you that stuff. And, you know, it just would lay in that folder with all the other musky stuff. Let's see. That's from Miko's API. Of course, I'm going to ask, does anybody like this? All right. We're trying. The roadmap here. Going back into this, Mosyle has all the class data for the teachers. My next step will be to use the class data that comes out of the API to create that loaner list, but for teachers. So basically a homeroom teacher, first thing in the morning, can pull that same long list and see every device and see whose iPad's on campus, who needs updates. Another thing I'm looking to do is add a little bit more back end so I can actually say this device hasn't been on campus in so many days. I don't know why, but nobody seems to notice that. Like when they look around their classroom, nobody seems to notice like there's iPads missing or they're in 3 pieces or whatever. So my hope would be to make that tool and give them an easy way to know if everybody's here. In the same token, depending on how successful that is, that could become possibly, I don't know, an attendance monitor. There's a lot of things you could do there. If you would go to the repo, there's a lot. I did write a lot of documentation goes with this, explains better how third-party modules work, how to install, how to set up. I know I definitely want to expand preferences and things. That's kind of on the bottom end. I'm not really a person for pretty. I'm more functional. So, you know, if the kids say they want a button or something, I'll change colors. But otherwise, I want it to work. And that's pretty much it with that. So, with that being said, I did cut a bunch of my demo out because I was scared the Wi-Fi would screw me. Normally when I do this, I hold iPads up and I show you like them doing things. It doesn't translate well when the Wi-Fi doesn't come with you. So, any questions about how this was set up, what we use it for, anything like that? Oh, yeah. Well, that's all I have. If you're interested in using it, like I said the repo link was out there. We are constantly playing with it. If you have a suggestion, I'm willing to take a crack at it. Like I said, these tools are pretty much engineered for our help desk students. So, you know, if you have students of your own that have ideas, feel free to tell them to mail. That's it. That's all I got, folks. Yep.